A Mystical Great Adventure is the final film set in the original Dragon Ball. It was released on July 9, 1988. Right after Goku begins his battle against Ma Jr. in the manga and between episodes 118 and 119 of the anime, in the middle of the Piccolo Daimao arc. Since both the anime and the manga are way ahead of the retold events of the first two movies, this one has the ungrateful duty to wrap up the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, the Red Ribbon and the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai arcs all in 45 minutes. That's harsh. Did they accomplish it? Well, can't say they didn't try. They succeed at times, but also can't help but create a bloody mess. For once, direction isn't handled by series director Daisuke Nishio, but by a regular director of the main series, Kazuhisa Takenouchi, who isn't known for being very consistent, but can provide a solid performance as long as time doesn't function as a disadvantage. And believe, given such a chaotic premise, with plenty of arcs to catch up, handling such a film is no piece of cake. In fact, he seems to provide a fine job, serviceable enough not to make it collapse. Yoshifumi Yuki is the film writer and certainly makes quite a difference for better and for worse. The opening selection definitely caught my interest, as we are in a precise moment in which the anime is using the second version of the opening sequence, the one involving Takeoide, Goku's Red Gi, the updated main cast and Piccolo Daimao. So what to do? Said events are too untimely for the movie content and the first version was already retired, so how about creating a whole new opening from the top, starring Goku and Kuririn's training under Muten Roshi? This idea is actually intelligent, so this movie doesn't need to waste screen time on it anymore, and also it's animated by two people, Masaki Sato and Hisashi Eguchi. Eguchi's cranky snappy movements and Sato's stellar character art get to shine soon, and of course, any excuse is the right one for listening to Makafushi's adventure once more. Possibly the most iconic theme song of the franchise. That bridge still kicks 36 years later, and how about that slapping bass? Animation-wise, this is easily the more flourishing movie among the original three, because we got nearly everyone from the main series. Last house with Shida debuting in a movie, Seigasha, Shindo Pro, Freelancer Aoshima and Studio Junio. Only Nakatsuru is missing for some reason. I personally like it when true talent gets moments to shine, and fortunately, this movie results in the more animated of the original bunch. Sometimes I feel regular studios receive their own segments to animate, like the Sega Power handling the whole Tenshinhan preparing to dispose of Chaozu, ranging from Takeuchi's tremors to Shimanuki's effects. I also did enjoy how much importance the film gives to Chaozu of all people. I swear this is his most prolific role to date, unless you count his ability to insult enemies in the Moro arc. For once, he doesn't appear as Tenshinhan's lackey, and actually happens to be an emperor who wants to retrieve the Dragon Balls in order to find Ran, but his counselors, Tsuru Sennin and Tao Pai Pai, have different plans. I personally agree with those who consider this Chaozu an improvement over Toriyama's take, because this Chaozu is able to elaborate his own thoughts, without necessarily wondering Tenshinhan's belief. To a certain degree, since it's obvious their relationship will receive a good deal of screen time, but as a whole, I can praise their attempt to emphasize Chaozu's psyche. My personal highlight has to be the saloon segment, packed with several interesting moments, like Goku entering the action only because his meal was being disturbed, the battle against Sergeant Metallic featuring Goku and Kuririn wearing suits, which is pretty cool, and Tao Pai Pai's likewise cool entrance catching Metallic's robotic head. This segment works both animation and narration-wise, as it tries to partially move away from the source material by placing several characters into an alternate setup, including Upa, Bora and his death fake-out. We also get to see Tsuru Sennin use his signature move, the Dodonpa, since only Tao Pai Pai and Tenshinhan had used it up to that point, so it makes perfect sense for the very creator to demonstrate it. However, saloon scene aside, this movie essentially features only characters we already know, which brings up what I mentioned earlier, that it's a melting pot of a film. First of all, it's extremely self-referential, nearly Koyama-like self-referential, way more than the previous two, which at least had the decency to add new characters and to play it less safe. Back in the first video I pointed out why it wasn't a big deal, as they only had to readapt one narrative arc by also proposing something new concurrently. On the other hand, the fact the mystical adventure had to include so many characters and so many subplots do so that said callbacks tend to replace the actual plot. I'm not against references and Easter eggs in general. They can be fun, especially if added in a subtle manner. But here, they are all but subtle. They substitute the story. As a result, this film shows up as far less original and authentic. Tao Pai Pai killing Blue with his tongue? Check. Tao Pai Pai grabbing Bora's spear? Check. Bora gets himself impaled? Check. Goku goes berserk? Check. Goku roasts Tao Pai Pai's clothes with the Kamehameha? Check. Tenshinhan knocks Muten Roshi like in the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai? Check. Muten Roshi brainwashing 10? Check. And don't ever get me started on the two dumbest scenes. Tao Pai Pai hitting Goku with his Dodonpa, whose trajectory is so accurate it manages to send Goku to Karin's tower. How bloody convenient! Last time I checked, his Dodonpa didn't kill Goku because Son Gohan's Dragon Ball essentially took the blow. Either Tao Pai Pai is that powerful or the movie is that desperate. The other moment is Yamcha being defeated by Bora only because Muten Roshi distracts him. I can accept Jackie Chun, Tenshinhan and Kami-sama in the flesh winning against him in order to show this character's strength. But Bora! Goddamn Bora, whom the film even cares so little for, his resurrection gets relegated to the ending credits. And while it may be considered an issue on the surface, I'm simply okay with it. After all, if they don't care for Bora being revived, why should I? On top of that, I'm pretty sure if Yamcha did indeed win, he would die in his place. So, a lose-lose situation? This movie demonstrates genuine despair for trying to fit any single character in it, including Pilaf and Arale, whose random cutscene is at least enjoyable, since it's Arale and the Gachan, what's to loathe them for? Nonetheless, I'm kinda disappointed by Kikuchi's M600, likely the weaker soundtrack of the original bunch, which is used so frequently from the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai arc onwards. Maybe a tad too frequently. Perhaps those I like the most are this one, played when Muten Roshi tells Goku how Son Gohan found him as a baby. I like how unique it sounds. This one used when Dende heals Gohan on Namek. The unreleased Wrath of Tao Pai Pai, playing the prologue of several Dragon Ball episodes, as well as when Trunks deflects Frieza Supernova without breaking a sweat. The Tao Pai Pai kills Bora used when Ma Jr. blasts both of Goku's arms. Or this one, played when Cell powers up in front of Kamiko-sama. Then I guess I have to address the three parts of Chaozu's theme. Maybe Kikuchi wanted to recreate his own Another Brick in the Wall too, but the reality is his sad tracks were usually not that great. I mean, there are still a few exceptions, but my issue with them is they sound more pitiful and saccharine than dignified. Especially part 2, which sounds like a far worse version of Upa and Bora's theme, which I'm not a fan of either, but at the very least it's got Juice Harp. I gotta have more Juice Harp! And yes, I know it's in line with memories involving Chaozu, like they would do in the Saiyan arc, but those violins sound a bit distasteful. Just imagine it replacing Sumitomo's track when Universe 6 is erased by Zeno. I'm secure that scene will lose 80% of its power. This is nowhere near Kikuchi's usual standards, but thankfully the first Dragon Ball Z movie will be a complete return to form. Oh, almost forgot. What is this round Chaozu has been constantly looking for? It's a doll. A doll! All of this mess occurred due to a bloody doll. Retrospectively, this shouldn't anger me that much. In fact, this movie deserves the OK tier, because it looks good, possesses a few clever scenes, but also functions as an unoriginal soup filled with forced deus ex machinas.